This is the talk of Music City Real Estate.
Welcome back to another episode of the Talk of Music City Real Estate,
where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
My name is Monty Moore with Realty One Group Music City.
And I am Jason Hoover, standing in for Carrie Ann with CMG Financial and My Mortgage Team.
Every week we'll be posting a new episode chock full of Nashville real estate value.
You can follow along and subscribe at talkmusiccity.com.
Got a question for us? Ask away at questions at Talk Music City. That's questions at talkmusiccity.com. Jason Hoover, thank you again for trying to fill in those amazing slippers.
I'm just throwing in the towel on this one.
For Carrie Ann. Again, we want to give a shout out to Carrie Ann. She's taking care of her awesome little girl, Aubrey, and Aubrey wasn't feeling good, so Carrie Ann's home being a mama. She's like super mama sometimes. I don't know how she does what she does. Plus,
I don't know where she gets the energy.
Number one mortgage professional in the state of Tennessee, and in the top 5 or 6 or something like that in the U.S. of A. Yep. And we have an awesome guest today. Speaking of an awesome lady, we have an amazing, amazing guest. You know, it's ever since I've met this lady, and she sat across this table, and her eyes welled up when she started talking to us about her passion. I said, man, this is a lady I want to know, and God, would we ever be blessed if she was part of this organization, and thank God she is. Before we get into that, Miss Jennifer Orton, I guess I better share what your name is. Before we go further with that, Jennifer Orton, we're going to talk about our sponsor real quick, so hang in there, okay?
Sounds good.
All right.
Music City Removal is the #1 junk removal service in Nashville. From residential, commercial, and construction, they're experts in ridding you of junk. Their costs include labor and dumping fees without any hidden or added expenses. Whether you're in need of a full clean out or just one item removed, they have you covered.
The Music City Removal team knows the importance of respect and trust while in someone else's home. They understand the inconvenience of junk left behind by previous homeowners and tenants and determined to provide an affordable and customer-focused junk removal service that puts you first. For a free on-site estimate, just go to musiccityremoval.com. That's musiccityremoval.com.
Music City Removal, because clutter ain't cute.
Shazam!
Is that your favorite part of that, Jason?
It is my favorite part, because I can get that one right.
Jennifer Orton, we're so glad to have you with us. Thank you so
Jennifer.
much. One of a supersonic realtor that we have in this organization here at Realty One Group Music City, and thank you for joining us today and to talk about your passion, what propels you, what motivates you, what besides your beautiful family and so forth. And so we're going to get into that. But before we get into that, let's tell us a little more about you.
Okay.
But before what you have to share matters, we need to know what gives you the.
What makes Jennifer Jennifer?
Yeah.
Where do we begin? Well, I started out as an airline junkie for 13 years. I don't know if you knew that.
Junkie, okay. What's that mean?
That means I was the peanut princess.
Oh, okay.
I was a sky goddess.
You're a peanut princess?
Yeah, I was a peanut princess.
I've never heard that before.
I haven't either.
So I knew 13 years of airline experience and started having a family and knew that was going to be tough. I was a flight attendant based in Orlando and living here in Tampa. Living here in Nashville.
Right.
And so anyways, got into sales, got into leadership, direct sales, working for Southwest Airlines, customer service. They, strive and we can hire you to do a job, but the customer service and to serve people truly, we can't train you in. You have to have that within you.
That's a hard thing. Yeah.
And so I joined a direct sales company, Premier Designs Jewelry. It's a biblical-based company that sold jewelry in the homes of women. And so came to know the Lord through that business and, again, serving. That company gave to tons of ministries across the globe. But at the time, I was like, missions, like, who cares about the mission work? I'm here to sell jewelry and serve people and serve my downline in leadership. And got introduced to the mission field. God has a funny sense of humor.
Wow.
And I just remember driving down Old Hickory Boulevard, and God said, you're going to do ministry full time, but you're also going to sell real estate. And that's how you're going to continue serving people. And I was like, real estate? Like, really? Like, that can be a dog world.
Yeah.
And
So you didn't have your license at that time?
Did not have my license
No
at
kidding.
that time. So
It's all the other realtors he could have chosen that already had a license. And he's talking to somebody who doesn't even have a license yet?
didn't have a
Wow,
license.
you must
be
one special lady.
well, I don't know. At the time, I was like, what am I going to get myself into?
Yeah, I'll bet you did.
Yeah. And so I'm going to be super vulnerable and just share that it took me 3 times to pass my real estate exam.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
You're not the only one on the planet that took more than once.
Yeah. And thank you. And so I questioned, are you sure this is what I'm supposed to do?
Right. He must have had the wrong address.
Exactly. And so
Wrong cell number.
anytime that, God is pointing us where we're supposed to be serving, the enemy knows that. And he is going to press in hard, but we are to persevere and follow his guidance. And so almost 6.5 years ago, I got my license and started down the mission field and started down the real estate field and truly put my business in the hands of the Lord, and whoever he has called me to serve every year is who I truly embrace and serve. And he's blessed me. And now I'm running a nonprofit 4 years ago, and never in a million years would have thought that I would ever have a passion to truly serve small children in Africa. Like, I could care less about education myself. I'm a high school graduate. I never went to college. But I continued to just be passionate in whatever I was called to do at the time. And so now it's serving a primary school in Africa, and 85% of our school are orphans. We have about 400 students there.
Wow. And 85% are orphans?
Yeah. And so an orphan is where a mother or father has passed away, and total orphan is where both children have passed away. So
Both parents. Okay.
Yep.
So tell us, did you start this, or is this something that you were elected into, or how did you come to Kenya and to support this effort? How did that even come about?
Yeah, so I was going to a local church here in Franklin, and in our small group, and literally God picked me up and sat me next to one of the directors running the organization at the time, and I just started talking to him and said, tell me about Africa. And he told me, and next thing I know, I'm stepping ground there. And a couple years later, I continued going. And then the next thing I know, they're wanting to step away from president position, and they offer me the position. And of course, I said, I have to pray about this. And the Lord said, I literally 4 years ago, this month, November. And so Lord said, yes, take it. I give you no reason to say no. And I said yes. And the rest was kind of history. This is actually, I believe, a 28-year-old nonprofit that originated, incorporated in the state of Georgia, and now here. The ministry has gone through supporting churches in other countries, and now in Kenya primarily, and funding the school.
Wow, that's incredible.
That's amazing.
I guess I'm glad you're paying attention when he was talking. Do we all do that, I wonder? Not.
Yeah. And how many times can we fall guilty of, well, if someone else will do it.
Yeah.
Someone else.
You got the wrong number, Lord.
Yeah. Someone else. And
you know how busy I am.
Exactly. But he's appointing us. And another thing that someone had brought to my attention a couple years ago is that, if we don't allow people to give to us, and so that we can support those in Kenya, we never allow that other person to be blessed.
Yeah. That's true. So is that running the nonprofit, is that a full-time career in doing that?
Yeah, so it's a lot of hours, but
what I'm getting at is like I'm sure there's a balancing act between family, the nonprofit, your real estate business, and just curious how you manage that.
I mean, you're a successful realtor,
Yeah.
and an amazing mom. I know I haven't met your main squeeze yet, but and I've only met one of your kids, but he was such a gentleman. Shout out to Brody, man. What a good kid.
Yeah.
Somebody's done a good job with him. He's a really good kid. Very, very much of a gentleman.
He kept asking, Mom, when's your podcast? So I'll definitely have to be playing this back for him so he can hear.
That's awesome.
Yeah. My boys were 2 and 5 when I first started doing this mission work. And for mother with a 2 and a 5-year-old, I'll never forget when I first paid my first deposit, the enemy was like, you're a terrible mom. Like, what are you doing? Why are you leaving them? But now it's like, that's all my family knows.
Your deposit to go there?
To go to Kenya, my very first mission trip. And so, to answer your question, Jason, like, it is a full-time job, but it's a balancing act too, and I truly believe, over the past couple years, the Lord's blessed me with over $7 million worth of real estate transactions, but I also believe he's allotted exactly that amount. And he never gives us enough that we cannot handle without his strength, not our own. And so, I typically lead at least 1 to 2 teams, short-term teams over there. And so there's lots of prepping, fundraising. There's monthly fundraising that, we have to meet every month to run the school, pay the salaries.
So there's a lot that goes behind the scenes that people don't see.
Yeah, and it's non-profit, like no profit.
Yeah.
So I don't get reimbursed for it. I don't get paid for it. The nonprofit does not pay my trips to go there. There's months.
This is really a commitment.
Yeah, there's really months that we're short.
Not just a time commitment, but just a financial one.
Absolutely. There's times where we're short monthly, and I'm like, all right, like on my bio, if you go to our real estate page, you'll see that a portion of all of my sales goes towards the ministry. So not only are you entrusting me to be your realtor, you're also changing lives across the world.
Wow.
And I got to share that with a client last December. I said, if you will, if I can just share this with you. And I told him, like, hey, because you trusted me and we closed on your brand new home last week, like, you were able to help this, and give them that example, because they're seeing that you're so much more than some of these other companies out there that are trying to replace realtors. Yeah. It's way bigger than that.
Thank you for doing that.
And it's an engine. Real estate's the engine that God's allowed me to outreach and share with individuals of what's going on in a third world country. Those children weren't chosen to be born there. We didn't choose to be born in America. We just were. Like, that's where God placed us. And so, it's biblical for us to reach out to the nations.
I never forget when I think it was Elizabeth Lianza shared about her. You guys are friends, right?
Oh, yeah. We're good friends.
And she said, I think she was talking to you about considering coming here. And she said that as soon as she sat down with you and you started talking about this ministry, that your eyes welled up and that you were really so passionate about this. This is before we met. And then you sat here in one of these chairs right here, and I'm over there, and you're doing the same thing with me. Tell us about the passionate part of this. I know that if you know you're in God's will, and apparently you are here, there's no question about that. Let's talk about the empowerment of passion. I think is one of the purposes that I wanted to really touch on here, because this you're an awesome real estate professional. There's no question about that. And one of the ways that I always know that with our team is, and everybody I know is trying, but some have a bigger sign of approval by our staff. They love certain people more. I mean, I'm just going to say it. I try to love all 3 of my kids the same. Sometimes it's tempting to love one more than another one, but I love all my kids. Well, we love all of our kids here at Realty One Group Music City. Yes. But I got to tell you, some of them that are showing a greater level of gratitude, maybe we share it. Maybe we should love them a little more. Well, I know our administrative staff loves you because they say you're a true professional, and that a lot of times tells a lot of the story, because how you treat those that are not necessarily are there to serve you sometimes shows what you're really made of, and you love them like you love the rest of everybody else, and I really am grateful for that. But tell us about the passion of your purpose, okay? Because I know that you're not going to want to get emotional here. I appreciate that, and I totally respect that. But at the same time, I'd like for you to be real about
Yeah.
you're passionate about your purpose. Do you mind doing that?
So you want me to cry?
No, I'm not. That's not the goal. The goal is for everybody
Yeah.
to think to themselves.
Yeah.
You know, what are you passionate about?
Yeah. So I am a crier. And so it's funny because last night we had our missions pastor over and we were talking through some stuff. And I was like, listen, I got to get all the tears out right now, because if I go on there and I'm an emotional babbling mess, like I'm surrounded by testosterone, like I have to be strong. I got to get this through. But
No, you don't. Just be real. That's more important. Always be real.
And that's one thing, if you know me at all, is that I'm a total real person. Sometimes maybe too real. But passion, it's funny because sometimes when we want an answer, we want like A, B, and C, right? But true passion comes within your heart. It's not an equation. It's not a how you do your business. It's not about being a good, mom or broker or managing broker. It's not that. It's something that's deep within. And so when I was brought to my attention by the Lord what my calling was, he planted a passion within my heart. And so to even explain it, it's kind of like I'm without words, because I just do it, like I feel
is it
like
passion about the ministry itself? Is it passion about the kids? Is it passion about the teachers?
Yeah.
Is it being passionate about the what is it that you really connect to on a real strong heartfelt level? The need, that's going to be just huge.
This is what you're looking for. So I was walking along a dirt path several years ago, and one of my Kenyan brothers said to me, Jennifer, if you never came to Kenya, what would your life look like? And I said, well, Wycliffe, it would be different. And we're walking along this dirt path, and I'm a visual person, so I see things. And he said, we just got done visiting a widow with several of her children that live with them, or grandchildren. And he said, sister, if you wouldn't have come to Kenya, these lives that we're leaving, these houses, would have never been touched. And so to know that what I'm doing here in America is affecting 400 children's lives, and it's not just their lives, it's our 25 staff members that are pouring into the future leaders there at Manna Academy. It's the pastors that are praying with people there at our chapel and our freshwater faucets there that, community members can come in and get fresh water. It's the grandmothers and the aunts and some of the parents that are still alive. Like it's so much bigger than that. Like they're not forgotten. And like God calls us to love the orphans and the widows and care for them. And so like that is my passion. Like, and to go and step there on the grounds of Manna Academy and truly just like be able to serve someone that has nothing but loves you so deeply that you're like, where is this? It's no one else but God. And people say to me, you're there and we see your face, and it's a joy that like you could not get anywhere else. And so like that's my purpose and that's my passion. And what's crazy is that like my kids just come along and it's just part of our life. And it's not a force. Like my 9-year-old just went in June with me, and I had to pry him out of country. And he's like, I'm going back in June, Mom. Like, here's $20 someone just gave me for Christmas or for Halloween, and this is my down payment for my trip. And we're talking about a 9-year-old little boy that lives in probably one of the most successful areas in, Middle Tennessee, America, exposed to everything that he could ever get. And all he wants to do is go back there and love on the people that love so deeply. And so that's just my passion.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being real. Can you, before I forget, because I'm likely to do that, how can people, let's talk about the name, of the ministry, and how can people get involved in this?
Yeah, so it's called Our Next, and it's OURNEXT .org. We have a website, we've got Facebook and Instagram, and we send about $3,500 a month over there to run a primary school that's pre-K through 8th grade, 400 students. That covers all of our staff salary, school supplies, and so...
What's that called again? Our Next?
It's called Our Next.
.com.
Yep. And we are not affiliated with a church or an organization. We are a standalone 501c3. So the only way you know about us is by meeting myself, one of my staff members, or, not staff members, board members, someone that's gone on a trip, truly just encountering who we are and what we're doing there in the village of Kasumu. I will tell you, it's a struggle. Coincidentally enough or not, it's totally God divine moment, is you actually asked me to do this last week, and I was out of town, and I said, maybe another time, and you asked for today, and today is Giving Tuesday, which is mind-blowing. And I need to keep asking. I need people to partner with us monthly, quarterly, every 6 months, every year, because us as realtors, we have to stay educated, right? It's not just school teachers that educate along the way. There are so many professionals that still have to stay educated. And these children are hungry for education. And our teachers, the average teacher gets paid about $120 a month. Yeah. I'm married to a school teacher, so I understand the pay there, and they don't get paid significant amount either, but $120 to be able to take care of children that they take in their clay huts with tin roofs, just so that they can eat, Children here, they take advantage of the education. They take that for granted. One year I went over, this was probably 3 years ago, and the children are asking, I asked them, I said, what can we give? Like, if I come back, what would you like? What could I bring you? We usually take like suckers and Smarties and all the candies and stuff. They said, will you bring us education so we can learn when it's dark out?
Wow.
And I'm like, it's so missed here. Wow. It's so missed. And so, again, like, that's my passion. Like, I'm not called to go into a school here in America and help fundraise, but I'm being called to a third world country where these children don't even have shoes to put on their feet, but yet they want an education, and they want to become teachers and doctors and journalists and pilots. Like, they have really big dreams and aspirations to be, pastors. And, it's just, I keep telling them, you guys know you're the future leaders of Kenya. You do know that. And so just keep pouring into them. But we have ways to give online. We do Venmo and PayPal. But again, the only way you know about it is just meeting us.
OurNext.com.
.org. O-R-G.
.org. I'm sorry. OurNext.org.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you brought up the fact that you're influencing all these kids, but the reciprocal effect of all these kids and their lives and how they're touching and how they're growing into these other leaders and so forth, that they'll never forget what you've been able to do. So what else can you share? Anything else about this? I know that Brody said he's been there as well. Yeah. So both of your boys have been there.
Yeah, so both my boys have been. My husband went 4 years ago. It was his first time. And the second he stepped out on those grounds, those kids grabbed a hold of him, and his face lit up, and I captured it with my cell phone, that people here could feel the power that just him stepping foot on grounds in a foreign country, that completely changed my husband's life. And he truly got and understood what we were doing there. And so, both my boys went when they were 9, and then Brantley's going again next year.
That's powerful.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
for anybody that hasn't been to a third world environment like that, I think it's hard to describe. I did a couple of church events in Central America and one in San Salvador. I just couldn't, the level of poverty, I just couldn't believe at that time, And the person I went with said, when you get back to the U.S., you're going to bend down, you're going to kiss the ground. And I laughed, I was in only my 20s. When I got back, I bent down and I kissed the ground. And I said, we take this way too for granted, So
Yeah.
I totally understand what you're saying there. But
Yeah, people don't realize that 80% of the world is second and third world countries. And you don't think that. Our partner over there, he shared with me one time recently and the importance of giving and I keep praying that the Lord allows me to be bold enough to continue to ask for people to give, because I have fallen very short of that over the past few years.
It's hard to ask people for money.
It is. It's very hard. I have been so independent since I turned 18 and moved out on my own, and so to ask is hard. But again, I'm shorting someone else's blessing, right? Like I'm just that. I'm the person that God's called into this field, and He said to me, Sister Jennifer, well, they call me Sister President, but I don't like that because it's a title role, and I just say, call me Sister. And he said, Sister Jennifer, if Our Next doesn't send the funds every month, our school is shutting down. Like, that is how crucial this role is. And if we think $3,500, like, that's not, that is a lot of money, but that's not a lot of money for 400 students to be educated and 25 staff members to be able to provide for their family. It's incredible.
So I better understand, I think, now why this is your passion and why it's certainly helped propel you to a very successful local real estate professional. And wow, I'm just glad that I hope. God's called me to take care of Realty One Group Music City, so Jason don't get any ideas. I'm not going to Africa.
But we need you to take care of us too.
but that's my ministry for sure. But anyway, thank you so much for coming on here today, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you'd like to share? Because that was powerful. That was really powerful.
Well, thank you. I just want to encourage anybody that's listening and watching that you say yes to whatever God's called you to do, and if He's called you to, stop saying yes and start saying, yes to something else, like, that's okay too. Like, we're called into seasons of our life, and that's okay. But, if you're also watching and you're feeling led to partner with us, we would love for you to go to our website or to personally reach out to me and partner with us, because, our principal there, Mr. Joseph, he always says that you can't clap with one hand alone. And he always grabs my hand and I grab his and we shake, and he says, this is how two hands can clap between your hand and my hand that we make this work. So, yeah.
Well, thank you. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. It's been I know this is not our typical real estate talk, but this is an awesome real estate professional that has shared what her passion is and her purpose. And we should all be called to such a strong conviction about what we do. So we appreciate you coming to join us at the Talk of Music City Real Estate. Be sure and come back again next week. Thanks so much.